I want to make one announcement. The WPT is doing a gigantic free roll, a $5 million free roll at the Wynn on December 13th during the WPT Championship. All you have to do to get into the entry and the drawing that I have with these free seats is head over to ClubWPTGOLD.com and sign up using the code BART. I'm going to be at this event. It's going to be amazing. Each seat is worth at least $2,500. And they're also giving away a bunch of 10K WPT championship seats as well. Hello, Brad. You're up next.
Hey, Bart. How's it going?
How's it going? Brad from Texas.
From Texas.
All right, Brad, you got a hand for us?
I do, yes. This is 2-5 at Choctaw, which is in Oklahoma.
I have been there. I've been to Choctaw. I went to Choctaw to play Poker Night in America once, actually.
Nice.
I don't remember there was a whole lot going on there. I've also been to WinStar too. Why did you decide to travel up there to play as opposed to like local Dallas games?
So I went there because the WSOP was there, and I fired in a bunch of the tournaments.
Makes sense.
And so this is actually, I think, after a really long day one.
All right.
One of the tournaments.
Oh, okay. So kind of tourney time.
Yes. So it's a 2-5, 75, 70% match.
Oh, nice.
I believe I want to say it's a 1K or 1,500 cap. I don't remember.
Okay. And how deep are you guys?
We are about 2,200 effective.
All right, so 2,200 effective. 2,200 effective. Choctaw, 70%. Okay.
Yeah, and just a little background, this game was pretty soft. Directly to my left was my buddy Nick, and we were doing some really off-the-rail stuff, like he was 3-betting Jack 3 offsuit. He can get a little squirrely sometimes. So he's on my direct left, and as his hand's starting, one of our friends, I guess, just busted out of day one and just came over and started talking to us. So we're like half focused on the hand when the pre-flop action is going down.
Okay.
So I'm in +2. It folds to me, and I open King of Spades, Queen of Clubs to 30 over a $10 straddle.
Hero in +2, King of Spades, Queen of Clubs to 30. So we've got this 2-5 +10. Is it +10 all the time?
Most of the time, and it's a button straddle, so that would be ultimate last action for the button.
So you're going from +2 with King Queen off to 30, and it's a button straddle, ultimate last action, which means just keeps coming around right to the end of the hand, the action. He always gets to close the action, no matter what, right?
Correct. Yeah, it skips over the button, the blinds act, and then the button has last say.
So you've got the small blind, the big blind folding, EP folding ish under the gun, and so you're like in the middle. You raise it to 30. Okay.
Sorry. So it starts under the gun, and then it goes all the way around to the blinds and then the button.
Guys are killing me here today with all this weird action.
I'm a little out of it today.
All right. So you're in +2, and you make it 30, okay?
Yeah, I make it 30 with the King of Spades, Queen of Clubs. So Nick, my buddy on my direct left in middle position, he calls, and then the cutoff button and big blind call.
Cutoff button and big blind call. Wouldn't the button have called last though, Brad? Wouldn't it have gone cutoff, big blind, then button?
Yes, that is technically the that's technically the order.
I'm just making sure I'm on the same page. All right.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. $150, right? In the pot?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
So we go to a flop of the Queen of Spades, 7 of Clubs, 6 of Diamonds.
Queen of Spades, 7 of Clubs, 6 of Diamonds. So you flop top pair.
Correct.
Okay.
So the big blind checks.
Mm-hmm.
And then here, do you like a bet or like a check to check raise?
Check to check raise? Really? Is that what you're thinking about right away? Wow, we're really taking this one far from some of this talk about check raising post as the pre-flop raiser. I mean, just to answer your question there, the hands that I would prefer to check raise as the pre-flop raiser would be ones where I unblock top pair. I mean, that's really the simplest type of thing to look at. Like if you had 7-7, 6-6 aces or kings. I don't know if king queen is necessarily one that I'm necessarily check raising on a board like this. But also, too, there is viable 2-pair out here. It seems like there's somewhat of a loosey-goosey game if you're getting five callers, and obviously there's some sets. Now, you look at some, again, you can definitely have an approach. I know my buddy Josh at Encore Boston Harbor, he almost checks 100 in spots where he's out of position against multiple people. And I whenever he sends me these hand histories, I just laugh because I know the game that he's playing where I'm like, why are you always doing this? I would do more default, the smaller stakes that I play. I'm like a broken record to betting. at these levels, especially where there's not straights that are possible, and there aren't really a whole lot of two pair. But I don't think that I would really put this one in ever really think about check raising this hand in that type of category.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah.
So I actually bet here on the flop.
Mhm.
I bet 60. I kind of went 1/3ish, but sized up a hair just to squeeze out a little bit more value from my hand.
Okay.
And then Nick flats on my direct left, and then the button calls.
MP friend calls. And then was there a guy behind the fold or everybody else folded?
Cutoff folds, button calls, big blind folds.
All right, so the button calls.
Correct.
All right, so 60 times 3, 180, 330. Hero with king, queen off to 30 from early position gets 4 callers. Queen, 7, 6 rainbow, check. Hero bets 60. Direct left, his buddy calls, and the button calls. And we're at 330 to the turn, okay?
Yeah, so the turn is the ace of spades.
Oh, the ace of spades. All right, so that's interesting. So the ace of spades comes on the turn. Backdoor spades, queen of spades, and the ace of spades. Here with king of spades, queen of clubs. And this is, I actually remember you. I mean, again, like I see the hands ahead of time, but I don't necessarily remember them. But I remember when I was reading this, Brad, I was like, yeah, this is an interesting turn card because it's like one of these ones where it's kind of traditionally a good, if you were trying to run some sort of barrel, like if you started a C-bet with king jack or something like that, this would be, a good barrel card for you. And you still probably fare to have the best hand here, a fair amount. The question though is that does this, is it so bad for everybody else's range that you put yourself in a way ahead, way behind type of position? I think that if I were heads up, I would definitely do more betting. First of all, there's no flush draw on the flop. So in this particular, and it's not like it's like 3, 5, 6 or something like that. There's also no straight. There's not 3 to a straight, meaning that the ace, like a dangly ace here, shouldn't be relevant unless somebody made ace 7 or ace 6. This is assuming somebody would probably 3-bet ace queen pre-flop. But this is going to be a dangly ace on a board that doesn't contain a front door flush draw. So that's why I think you fare to have the best hand here still. If it were heads up, I think you can sort of, I don't know if you want to call it a it would kind of be a mergy barrel. Like it's not a bluff, but I think you still might get called by worse because people would know, you're sort of double barreling. I have to call down with a weaker queen and some other hands here too. But multi-way, it starts to get a little bit hairy because it does look pretty strong if you were to bet here again. Although, you could take like a 1/3 handcuffing. I'm going to assume that it's going to get checked to you. I think that you can kind of take like a 1/3 sort of handcuffing size here and still get called by worse. And then you don't give up like free cards and stuff. And it doesn't get checked through.
Sure. Yeah. So that's kind of what I was thinking. I was thinking there's still a lot of straight draws out there. I know you talk a lot about combos where if top pair unblocks like the backdoor flush draw, they could have like a lot of like queen X of spades, but because it's on the board, I didn't think that was there. So I'm also unblocking. I'm blocking top like the nut flush at this point. So I don't really know specifically here on the turn. I was like debating on what size to take because I was still trying to get money in from draws and worse queen X that might have floated. But I do think that a lot of the queen X starts to fold out once I barrel the ace.
And by the way, you are out of position, right? I'm sorry. It's on you.
Correct.
It's not going to get checked to you, right? It's you, the guy to your left, and the button. Thank you, Mr. Yago. Okay, so you're first to act.
Yes.
I mean, even before you say anything, the only thing that I would say though is that just one other little caveat here too. If somebody had like a hand like 8-9, right, or like say 9-10, some sort of gut shot or 4-5 suited, right, some sort of draw on the flop, I do feel like, especially 3 ways here, and especially if it's the guy in position, you as the pre-flop raiser, and when you c-bet the flop, I think when an ace comes on the turn, a hand like 8-9 or 9-10 or 4-5 is going to be doing a lot of checking and taking a card. Whereas if you checked like a deuce it would give them the green light to bet. So there are people that arrive on the turn here with some draws, right? Mostly in the form of straight draws. But you, as the pre-flop raiser, c-betting the flop, I don't think you're going to be doing just a whole lot of like check folding on the turn. So I think you will find that those draws will do a lot more taking of a card than start bluffing on cards that sort of hit the pre-flop raiser kind of traditionally that you're not necessarily check folding. So that's another reason why I kind of like a bet, because I think it's going to get checked through a lot. Plus, it's 3 ways too.
Yeah. So what kind of size do you like for a bet here?
I think I kind of like the handcuffing size of like maybe like 120-ish, something like that. What is 1/3? 1/3's 100. You already bet. You bet 60. Yeah, I might go like 120, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I wound up betting 140.
All right. So hero bets 140.
And then the only person who calls is middle position. It's my buddy on my left.
MP calls again and then fold. So now the pot is 6-10, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And before we get to the river, what I know that my friend likes to bluff a lot. So what I was thinking about doing is if no draw completing cards come in, I was just going to check it to him.
Sure. at this point, once you bet the turn, it's pretty hard to get 3 streets from like a weaker queen, right? So there's nothing wrong with running out of value on the river, but not giving up a free card on the turn. I mean, we do that all the time, right?
Right. So the river is the queen of diamonds.
Brad, this is a check here, I think, all day. And I think we've even already talked through it because of the fact that not only do you, well, here's the beauty of this, right? Like, if he has the case queen here for trips, you're not going to lose the value by checking to him. He's not going to check behind queen jack or queen 10, right? Most people aren't. They're going to look at trips and they're going to bet. Then also, you get to play the line consistently with him possibly having a busted draw. But then lastly, this is even better. It's the best of all worlds for you. It might increase his bluffing frequency because of the fact that it looks like he's got queen X in his range, right?
Correct. Yeah. So he was next to call. I mean, he was first to call on the flop with all those people behind him. So I figured he has a lot of queen X or like 9-8 or 5-4 suited. I think he would flat a lot of those hands. The only hand I think he wouldn't have in range is ace queen because he would like 3-bet that 100%. So I'm thinking that I have the best hand here, and I almost, just because of our dynamic, just bombed the river, but I decided I was just going to check.
I mean, you could make a case for like sort of reverse blocking. I mean, reverse blocking, we talk about reverse blocking is usually in position, but you could block to induce, I guess.
Right.
But sometimes that's such a disaster. And Nate points this out. It's such a disaster to block to induce and then not get raised by like a queen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everyone always has these high hopes of like inducing with a block and then it doesn't necessarily happen. And by the way, too, another reason possibly to not raise a queen from the guy in position is that he's also losing to pocket aces here too. Like if you were to block like 100, 150, something like that. I mean, I definitely like the play of a check here.
Okay. Yeah. So I checked. And then Nick goes into the tank for like, I don't know, 10 to 15 seconds and picks up a bunch of black chips and puts out 700.
So MP to his left bet 700, which now will get us to another interesting sort of inflection point is obviously there are 2 options on the available here on the table. Folding is not one of them, by the way. The question now is there value to raising, right? Or just calling here in the sense that you will beat a weaker queen. So you think your buddy has misdraws, right? He doesn't have ace queen, right? Because he always 3-bets that off. He doesn't have pocket aces. He always 3-bets that off. So you're losing to pocket 7s and pocket 6s.
Correct.
He has some misdraws, and then he might have the case weaker queen. Is he playing like, I don't know if you guys are drinking, but like, is he the type of guy that's going to play queen jack or queen 10 off in this spot? Like, is he going to VPIP that pre?
He might. We are not drinking. The both of us actually don't drink.
Oh, You don't have to worry about that then.
Yeah, but the table is super soft, and we've been getting pretty out of line during the entire night. So I don't know the frequency that he would have sixes and sevens and just flat on the flop to draw in worse,
Hmm.
drawing all the players behind him. So that's just something I was thinking about on this river, but I just feel like it's like way too nitty to fold here. Like
Were you actually thinking about so I said the two choices were call or raise. You were actually thinking about folding?
yeah, there was just something weird. I just felt like it felt a little bit like a set, and I almost folded here. And then I almost called.
But the way that the hand all went down though, Brad, like, you kind of set this up, but just ended up happening this way. Like, you think he's got a draw or some really sort of thick value. I mean, I know you're saying he might pull with sevens or sixes, but I mean, this just gives this guy the green light to bet here. So this is why I like this check so much, because again, it's kind of a rare scenario where you're not going to miss the value from weaker trips because he's going to bet anyways. And it will also give him the green light to bluff. My question just is like, do I ever raise here trying to get a weaker queen to call? If he's not the type that's going to V-pip queen jack, queen 10 off, I think it's probably optimistic, really. Because then at that point, you only have like two combos, right? There's just queen jack suited and queen 10 suited of whatever the suit is, right? And there's only two hands. You'll get three, the queens are out there. So, and then you've got six of the sets that are out there. So it doesn't make sense really to do that. If a guy was like super wide, now all of a sudden, even if he still V-pipped like queen jack off and queen 10 off, that's still only like six combos. I mean, it seems to me I like it just a call here.
Yeah, so I went to the tank for a little bit, but I wound up making the call.
Yeah.
And he turns over pocket aces.
What was he trying to do? I mean,
well, I was like, how do you have that here? And he said, oh, we're too busy talking when our buddy came over. He's like, I just wasn't paying attention. I just kind of threw money in the pot.
That's really something.
And then he said when the ace came, he's like, there's no reason for him to raise. So he was just going to wait till the river and then...
I mean, the only thing about not raising on the turn there with ace-ace is just that the board is getting very, very wide. I don't really care about the result. I'm more interested. I don't care what he ended up with. I more care about the way that you played it up until the river. And I really do like the check on the river. And I also like the bet on the turn. Whether he ended up with pocket aces or pocket sevens or pocket sixes, it's all the same thing. It just makes it... We didn't think, I mean, you kept saying like, you didn't think he's got ace queen, but it is what it is. Like he's going to end up there with sevens or sixes here too. Because you said like you were thinking, well, is he really pulling pocket sevens or pocket sixes on the flop? Wouldn't he raise at some point? How about raising ace-ace though on the turn?
Would there ever be a size here that he goes on the river that you don't call? Like if he just like ripped it in?
I don't think so. How can you possibly fold as played here? I just don't. I don't think so. And the other interesting thing about this too is that, Nate, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in theory, he doesn't get to go balls to the wall like crazy jam here. If he always three bets pocket aces, which he should be, right? Then you have the ultimate nut advantage here. And it might not be a bad play. Like, say you did have pocket aces here, Brad, and you played it the same way. I would also like a river check for the same reasons, right? The river check with ace-ace in your spot is a good play. And I'm not for usually playing rivers and stuff tricky in live poker, but I think this one makes sense. Because of that, this guy is not allowed to go balls to the wall with like a 5x overbet because you're the one that can have ace-ace here, and you might viably have it because it makes sense the way it has played.
So if you wind up here if we had ace-queen instead of king-queen, would you just rip it in? If over his $700 bet?
Oh, if you had ace-queen, of course. How do you not? How can you not rip it? What, you're scared your buddy flatted you with aces to your left?
No, I wasn't like scared that he had aces. I actually didn't expect aces. If anything, I expected like sevens or sixes at like...
Oh, you mean you're saying would you rip it in or make a smaller raise, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like would you just call?
Oh, no.
Like, what are you talking about? If you bet 700 and you had ace queen and you guys had What would you? So you'd have what, like what, like 1,500? It would be about like a pot size raise or something.
Yeah, about. So 90, 140 is 230. So yeah, it would be like another 1,300 or so.
Against most competition, yes, I move all in because it's old Zebo theorem. Like people aren't bet folding 7s and 6s. If he's got a bluff, it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I wouldn't think. But you don't need to turn king queen into a bluff though. If that's what you're thinking. If that's where you're going here with this, like check raise.
No.
Okay.
I was actually I almost raised for value, but then I don't know. I just had that weird gut feeling where I should just call here.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for the call, Brad. Appreciate it.